Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the daily market broadcast. In today's video, we'll be breaking down potential trade opportunities on the daily and 4-hour time frames. Let's jump into it. Okay, so first we want to go up to our indicator and we want to make sure we have our EMAs selected correctly. So we're going to start off on the 4-hour time frame. So make sure you have the 4-hour EMA selected. And I always like going up that one time frame. So select the daily. And then let's go down to our fair value gaps and have time frame 1 selected and then have time frame 5 selected. This is the daily. Okay, and we're going to start off on the 4-hour time frame and we're going to start off with our 4x pairs. So we're starting off with odd CAD. Okay, so there was an alert signal right here, but let me zoom in. Do you see how this wick, even though it did hit, this wick, in order for me to consider this an A+ setup, this wick would have needed to come back up into this fair value gap. Do you see how that came back up to this fair value gap? But there's no alert signal off of this one. So I would not have taken that, and I also would not have taken this. Okay, let's continue. So we're just looking for an alert signal, and then I'll stop and then we'll analyze it if we get any. Okay, look at this one right here. So this was last week. So do you see how this wick came back into this fair value gap to rebalance this fair value gap? It rejected off of this 4-hour EMA. And then, let me see, but I think according to our rules, this was a break even. Yeah. So I mark off my 1-to-1, which would have been right here. So this candle would have tapped our 1-to-1, and then I moved my stop loss up to break even. Unfortunately, this came down, wicked us out, and then continued up. But that happens. Okay, look at this one right here. So we got this alert signal right here. Okay, but this candle right here is the one that created this fair value gap. So I would not have taken this. First of all, you're going up into a massive fair value gap right here. Here's a daily fair value gap right here. So to me, there's not going to be any momentum because you want it to come back into this fair value gap. Do you see how that wicked into this fair value gap and then rocketed off of it and then it continued up? You want momentum like that. When your candle creates the fair value gap, there's no momentum in that candle. Okay, so I would not take a trade off of this candle, even though we got our alert signal. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so look at this one right here. Look how beautiful this one is. So let me take that off. Okay, so we got an alert signal. It is out of a fair value gap. I love this entry right here. However, according to our rules, the candle next to it did not trigger you in. So we would have deleted this, okay? Because look how there's hardly no momentum, okay? So same with this candle. First of all, well, yeah, there is a fair value gap right here. Okay, right here is a fair value gap. Let me show you what I see here. So right here, there's a fair value gap. Okay, we had this massive momentum down. Price came back up to retest this EMA, rejecting off of it out of this fair value gap. However, according to our rules, if the candle next to it did not trigger you in, you delete it. This would have been a break or just a no risk trade. Okay, same with this. I would not have taken this, even though there is a fair value. Well, no. Yeah. Let me see. Right here is a nice fair value gap. Okay. So we had this massive momentum down, came back up, rejected out of this fair value gap off of this EMA. But according to our rules, if the candle next to it did not trigger you in, which it would not have because you would have entered right here at the tip of this candle right here. That's where your entry would have been. This candle did not trigger you in, so you delete it. And then this one right here, even though you got an alert signal, it is not out of a fair value gap. So I would not have taken this, but I mean, it still continued up. But yeah. Make this smaller so I could. Oh. Do you see right here? Even though we got an alert signal, this is not out of a fair value gap. There's no fair value gap right here. So I would not have taken that. Okay, that's it for our Forex pairs. Let's head over to our futures. Okay, so right here, do you see how this candle right here is the one that created this fair value gap? I would not take an entry off of this candle. Even though by the looks of it, this is not even going to trigger us in because there's 20 minutes left. So you would delete it if you did enter that. Doesn't look like there's any trades today. Okay, so this one right here, it's not out of a fair value gap. Even though we got an alert signal, it did end up hitting. If you did enter this, you would have entered it off of this candle. Place your entry at the bottom of that candle, just like that. And then here's your, actually, this would have been a break-even trade because price came down right here. Well, no, actually. No, because price opened right here, it went back up, came down, and it closed right here. So you wouldn't even have moved your stop loss until it was down here, and then you would have hit. I thought we would have broke even, but that was a win right there. If you did take it, I didn't take that. I want it out of a fair value gap, but they sometimes do deliver even though they're not out of a fair value gap. That rejection off of that EMA really helps. I'm wondering if this will give us an alert signal in 20 minutes. I'm going to come back and mark that because, first of all, I like this because it's out of a demand zone. It's also out of a daily fair value gap, and it's also out of the 4-hour fair value gap right here. So if we get an alert signal right here, this might be a really nice opportunity right here to take. And then just shoot for your 2-to-1 right here. But we don't have an alert signal, so we're not going to set it. I'm just going to come back and look at in 20 minutes. Okay, this one right here would have been a loss because I like this one. It is out of a fair value gap. However, you're also going into this daily fair value gap right here. So this would have been a loss. Okay, this one right here. What is that off of? Yeah, this one would have been a loss too. And it looks like this would have triggered you in depending on when you set it. So looks like actually, yeah, because there's a fair value gap right here. So this was just a lot of back and forth. So you would have taken some losses on that. There was an entry right here. We got an alert signal. This is not out of a fair value gap. This is why I don't take these out of fair value gaps, because you're trading into a fair value gap, and this also has no momentum. You need it out of a fair value gap. So that's that. All right, let's head over to the daily. Let's change our indicator. So we're going to take off the 4 hour, and I'm just going to leave the daily on. Okay, and then these are both the same thing, so you can just uncheck one or leave them on, doesn't matter. Okay, and we're going to go back to our 4x pairs. Okay, and we're just going to continue down. Jeez, there's nothing on this either. That would have been nice. It didn't give us an alert signal though. But do you see how we had this momentum down? It reacted out of this demand zone right here. We had this massive momentum up, came back down, rejected off of the CMA, but we didn't get an alert signal, so we didn't take it. There was an entry right here. There is no fair value gap. Actually, there is a small one right here, but it doesn't look like price came back up. Yeah, that's the only one right here. So in order for me to have taken this, I would have needed price to come all the way back up here to reject out of that. Okay, so okay, that's it. Let's head over to our 4x pairs. And then same thing, we're just gonna go down until we get an alert signal. Okay, look at that entry right there. But it wasn't out of a fair value gap, even though there was, well, this ended up creating some supply, but okay. I don't think, it doesn't look like this is gonna, well, I'm gonna also come back and check this one too. Oh, no, that's the same one. Never mind. This is even nice on the daily too, if this closes with an alert signal. Yeah, so we're gonna come back in 12 minutes to that and check that on the 4 hour. Do you see how there was an alert signal right here off of this candle? However, there was no fair value gap. If it came down here and rejected out of this fair value gap, yes, I would have taken it. However, price came it didn't even trigger us in, so you would have deleted it anyway. All right. Well, that wraps it up for today, guys. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss on more daily market broadcasts. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.